So this is Double or Nothing, the predictions. Before we get into this, we've got to say that we're recording this before the go home show of Dynamite. So there's a few things that we might not know. Okay, so let's start with the pre-show match of Private Party versus Best Friends for the number one contendership for the AEW Tag Team Championship.
Who have you got?
I have got Best Friends because both Chuck and Trent have been having pretty solid matches the last month, either win or lose. They've been looking good. So just Private Party being off TV for a while.
I've got Best Friends also because they made it quite clear to me on TV over the last couple of weeks that team's been building momentum, and they've also sort of become integral to the tag scene while the pandemic's been going on, whereas Private Party have been off TV and don't necessarily need a win once they get back onto it.
You don't like Private Party, do you?
I really think the tall guy, I can never remember their names, has something really great. He needs to go back, be taught some lessons, and learn some psychology. Private Party, for me, are one of the worst offenders of spots. They just don't have any inclination to sell anything, and they don't think about a flow of a match, and they just go out there, and you can tell their age. Like they just want to do high flying crazy moves and make gifts. They never actually think about the integrity of what a match presents and how you can get more over by just slowing down a little bit and selling a slap or selling a hit or selling a pile driver, you know.
Yeah, that is young guys that come from the current world of thinking that the more spots you fit into a 30-second bit of a match is better for the audience.
But they're a lot worse for it than guys like Darby. I can already see Darby Allin is taking things into consideration from this time last year, because I've come to really, really enjoy Darby Allin because he's starting to slow down just a little bit and sell basic moves.
Yeah, that might be just that Private Party doesn't get as much of an opportunity, though. They're not on TV as much as everyone else. One thing to think is that AEW doesn't run house shows, so their TV show is the only thing they're running. So if they're not on TV, they're not getting as much, like you said, experience with the other guys backstage or in-ring experience, whatever it may be.
That's a really good point to think about that I haven't really processed. I think that a lot of these guys will become a lot better once house shows start running.
They had, who was it? I think it might be Ring of Honor. They were talking about being not a developmental company, but a slight kind of sister company. They would treat them as their house shows, if you like. They'd send people there just to get more experience. I can't remember what company it was. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure might be the opening match of the night is the casino ladder match for an AEW championship in the future. I don't know why I didn't say contendership. So in that, we've got Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, your favorite, Orange Cassidy, another one of your favorites, Ray Phoenix, Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, and to be announced, which I assume will be to be announced on tomorrow's Dynamite.
Not looking forward to this match for the reasons that I've just mentioned. This is going to be a spot fest of the highest order, but it's not even going to be a WWE spot fest where there's moments where people just disappear. Like, as much as I hate the multi-man ladder spot where guys just disappear for no reason, at least it looks like they're selling. None of these guys are going to sell.
This is going to be balls to the walls carnage.
It's going to be a free-for-all and nobody's going to sell anything. I've got Darby Allin to win. I think he needs some momentum. And to me, from that list, he's the closest thing to a breakout star. I will not be happy if Colt Cabana goes anywhere near winning.
Colt Cabana's not winning.
Good.
What do you think the odds of Sting being the final entrance?
That's not happening, man. Come on.
I heard that somewhere.
Come on.
Yeah.
In a fucking gimmick ladder match. No way.
I suppose I got to go Darby Allin as well. He's the only name there that I think could legitimately have a championship match. Does he have any history with Jon Moxley? I don't think he does he?
Yeah, I think they had a match. They had a match.
They've had a match already.
When he first became champion, I think.
I love Ray Phoenix, but I don't think he'll get it. Also, I love him being in the Lucha Bros, so I don't really want him to get a singles push.
Phoenix,
I'll go Darby Allin as well.
Phoenix feels like the Kofi Kingston insertion or the Dolph Ziggler insertion here. to make a little bit of carnage, not necessarily to win, but to stand out a little bit.
He's going to do some crazy flips off the top of a ladder.
I don't want to see Colt Cabana for more than 5 minutes.
I like Orange Cassidy being in it. I think something interesting could happen there.
I really hope Orange Cassidy doesn't win either.
I know you not to.
That TNA stink.
Right, so then let's go on to MJF versus Jungle Boy. This one's a tough one for me.
Why?
Because not that both of them need to win, but it just feels like one of the, like we were saying earlier, I could see this very match in 10 years' time being like the biggest match of the year. So it just feels like stunting either of theirs momentum is a bit silly, but also I reckon it's going to be a great match.
I've put down here that it's not gonna be a complete squash. I think AEW sees something in Jungle Boy, and so do I, as I've already mentioned. But MJF, they made a point of saying MJF is undefeated apart from a 4-way, which didn't really count. So it's on singles competition, he is undefeated, and that's not changing with Jungle Boy. I think they'll have a good 10, 12 minute. There might be a little bit of interference from Wardlow, but MJF is coming out with a solid win from this.
You're right, MJF is definitely being groomed. Jungle Boy is definitely being groomed to be a big star. That's why I don't think either of them is going to come out of this looking particularly awful. So, like you said, maybe MJF wins kind of with a dirty finish.
Well, that doesn't harm MJF either, because that is literally his gimmick. So
that is who he is.
3 of 3.
Yeah, we got to stop doing this. I might just start picking against you just to make it interesting. I think apart from the winners at Money in the Bank, we had the exact same for every single match. And we were pretty much right as well.
That might just be because we're jaded at this point and we can actually tell the winners.
Which is always sad. I always get more interested when I don't know the winner.
Well, you've got at least one match like this on the card.
Yeah. So, but next, let's do Dr. Britt Baker versus Chris Statlander.
Decisive 7-minute win max for Baker. I don't think Statlander's going to get much offense in here. I think that it's going to be quite decisive and Baker is going to look really good.
I don't think it's going to be as decisive as that because Statlander's been getting a bit of a push. She was a nobody only a couple of months ago.
I see where he's going with it, but I think that Statlander is a nobody a couple of months ago to be pushed up, to be put back down in a less severe way than Pineapple Pete.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying there. I'm going Britt Baker as well. I definitely think she's the standout in the women's division over the last 6 months or so, or since whenever a heel turn was.
There's too many video packages, and she's too good on the mic. She's sort of perfected her character. And one thing I noticed about her on Dynamite is that all of the women, and more than most of the men, she's so incredibly smooth in her maneuvers. I don't know whether you've noticed this, but just anything from a very basic arm drag to all the way to like a more complex move. Everything she does looks so crisp. She's really becoming the perfect package for me over the last couple of weeks in terms of a female wrestler.
But what the problem is in the women's division is there's no top face for her to go up against. They need to be building a face just as much so that they can finally clash.
Really good point.
Because if she wins this and she becomes a contender and, well, we don't know what's going to happen with the women's championship, but if Nyla Rose keeps her belt, then that's two monster heels against each other. Or Britt Baker's not a monster heel, she's more of a manipulative heel. But that match doesn't make any sense.
Really the only thing that WWE are still succeeding in against everybody else. Their women's division is untouchable. And there's a lot of issues with it, and we don't enjoy a lot of it, but their women's division is untouchable in comparison to most other companies' divisions. It seems like most companies now are struggling with what happened after the women's revolution and trying to deal with it and try and create a brand of its own. And WWE are alone on doing a good job of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, they sucked up so much of the talent that AEW didn't have so much American or English or Australian female wrestlers, that they stacked their women's division full of Japanese wrestlers, which didn't get over with the American crowd so much because they don't know how to pronounce their name. Japanese wrestlers always struggle to do promos in English, which It's nothing against them. Doing it in a foreign language, I imagine, is always difficult. And their style is a bit different, so nobody's really taken off. So I think that's why Britt Baker's become a bit of a star of the division, because, she fits in.
I think they kind of really fucked it from the beginning by making the inaugural women's champion Rio.
Yeah, they did.
Because I'm not saying that she's not like a Marco Stunt to me. I feel like she could be the underdog that comes up, but you don't start your division with the underdog. The underdog works their way up. That's the whole point of an underdog.
So let's talk about this women's championship match. It's Nyla Rose versus Ishida for the women's championship. It's a no disqualification.
I'm quite looking forward to this match. There's absolutely no need for the stipulation apart from that. They had a weird little segment. Nyla Rose got a kendo stick and hit it over Shida's head, as if to say this is now no disqualification. There's no need for it. There's no storyline need for it. They haven't really talked about how they want to kill each other.
I wouldn't say it's really a story, but Shida's, I don't even know what you would call it, like her signature weapon, if you want, is the kendo stick. Like, that's kind of half a gimmick. So Nyla Rose hitting her with it is just an extra kind of like, fuck you, I'm doing your thing. I wouldn't really say that's a strong story, but I think that's what they've been rolling with.
If that's the reason that the stip is in place, and that's super weak. I've got Nyla Rose for this.
I was going to have Nyla Rose, but as we just mentioned, it doesn't make any sense to have Britt Baker versus Nyla Rose going forward. So I'm actually going Ishida. But then that means the belt has been changed so many times in such a short amount of time.
That's why I went with Nyla. I think they've done a really, really bad job of building up any strong cases in the women's division at all. They've finally strapped a rocket to somebody and built some momentum around them. And to me, it would be ridiculously silly to then take that belt again off them as they're finally building up momentum with the division.
I'm just thinking, who would Nyla Rose go up against next? There's no... Unless it's Brandy, but that's not very...
They really, really need to work on the women's division. I don't personally think they should even be having championship matches right now. They need matches like Baker versus Statlander. They need 2 of those on the pay-per-view. They need those sorts of matches on the show. Nyla Rose should be in the background watching the competition because there's nobody on her level. And as you say, the only person nearing her level is Britt Baker, which is a heel versus a heel. They need to spend a good month or 2 just building up the actual women's division before anybody even bothers to challenge Nyla. If you have to have a championship match on TV, just put her against a jobber.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to go Rose as well because I just don't see her dropping out in her first defense. But the whole thing doesn't make any sense.
They do such a great job of trying to build up everybody in the men's division and yet manage to build up nobody in the women's division. I don't want to see Nyla Rose go through the roster. I want Nyla Rose to take a step back with the belt and wait for people to get onto her level.
I think they did a great job this week by building 4 people up pretty much at the same time.
Yeah, that was good.
So then let's talk about this Stadium Stampede match. It is Matt Hardy with the Elite, which will be Adam Page, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks versus the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz.
How do you think this is going to look? Do you think that this has been created as a sort of fuck you one-upmanship to the horror that was the Money in Bank? As if to say, we've done it better than you before, we're now going to do it better than you on pay-per-view.
100% this is Money in the Bank done right. I think we don't even right now. I assume they're going to explain it more on the next Dynamite, but we don't even really know what this match is. I'm assuming it's going to be a backstage brawl across a large part of the football stadium.
I think they're in dangerous territory here.
Of it being a bit samey.
I'm convinced that they will do it better than the Money in the Bank, but I have already seen a great backstage brawl with AEW 2 weeks ago, and backstage brawls are the new favorite thing in wrestling. As you said, you saw it really badly done with cowboy music, Ken Shamrock versus Sami Callihan. You've seen it in WWE, you've seen it in AEW. What they're promising me right now is 8 guys on a football field with lots of empty seats. I'm not convinced that, as much as I trust AEW to come out with a quality product, I think that it's too much of a knee-jerk reaction to say we're better than WWE, instead of actually thinking it through and saying, hey, maybe we've already done a creative backstage brawl and this is going to be more of the same, and people are already kind of done with the whole idea of it following WWE. Because one thing with AEW I've got to admit is I think they forget that if you're watching AEW, you're probably watching WWE, and you might be sick of something that WWE is doing, and then go to AEW for a refreshing alternative.
Yeah, but like, think about who you're talking to here. Cody loves one-upping them any chance he can get. Remember him smashing a crown with a hammer. Come on, I mean, if he definitely wants to nail the nail in, you know. But I'm just thinking that this has got Cody's name all over it. Maybe we got the wrong end of the stick here. What was a bunkhouse stampede that Dusty invented?
The only thing I can remember from the one that I saw was Dustin Rhodes hitting Finley on the back of a truck, like on the motorway.
No, that was the pay-per-view. There was an actual match called a bunkhouse stampede. That the
No, I
pay-per-view
think
was named after.
it was like a bunkhouse brawl. They had somehow got onto a truck on a motorway and then ended up in a dump.
Right. I I don't know what it is. I think it's I didn't watch WCW these days, but I think it was some sort of gimmicked cage match or something. The objective was to throw the opponent out of the cage door, send him over the top of the cage as an elimination.
Jericho has said that this is on an empty football field, though, and I'm not sure what you can really do with that space.
I think that was being played up. I do not think an NFL team would let guys play on their field.
I really hope not, because that's a really boring space. There's a lot more of a boring space to work on than headquarters, for example.
As of right now, we don't know exactly what this match is. I got a feeling it's gonna stem from the bunkhouse stampedes somewhat, because I don't know, why would they call it a stampede?
I hope you're right.
The name is too close to something that Dusty invented, you know?
I figured that the whole point was, I assumed that WWE had the rights to the pay-per-view name Spring Stampede, so they created a Stampede match and put it at the end of Spring. That's the only reason I could think of this specific idea being created for.
I don't know. I give them a bit more credit than that.
I'm not sure I'm looking forward to this match. It completely depends on what it turns out to be. But what I've been told thus far is that it's on a football stadium. And I'm not into that whatsoever. But anyway, who have you got to win?
I 100% have the Elite to win. They have been off TV for a long time now. So either Adam Page is going to get the win, or maybe Kenny Omega for the Elite. I think Adam Page might get it because they were trying to make him into a big deal before the quarantine, and it was working. Even though he was being a bit of a tweener, a bit of a dick, the crowds were like eating him up. They were loving it. And he's been their golden boy from the beginning. They wanted him to be top dog, and it wasn't working at the beginning, and it's just started to work just before the lockdown. So I could see them giving him this big win after the Inner Circle being built up for a while. So it looks like Adam Page has returned, and look how fucking great he is.
Really stealing my notes here, man.
Sorry, man.
I've got the Elite winning purely because we've seen the Inner Circle on TV throughout the entire pandemic period. I forgot that the Young Bucks existed. I mentioned earlier that Hangman Page needs more vignettes, and I've also got that Hangman Page wins the match for the Elite because they, unlike the Private Party, who are losing for the very same reason, Hangman Page needs to come back with fiery momentum and get a big win.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't come back big, the whole building of him before this will be forgotten.
Yeah. And he has got momentum, and Hangman Page is as little as I've seen of AEW. Well, I have seen quite a fair bit of AEW, but I've seen less than you. The guy that I'm missing on weekly TV right now is Hangman Page. I've always had a soft spot for him. I've always wanted him to be better than he is. And like you said, there was a building idea around him that he was getting better and better, and people were getting into his character. And most importantly, he himself was getting into his character.
So then let's go with Jon Moxley versus Brody Lee for the AEW World Championship.
Yeah.
In my mind, this one's easy.
I mean, it's obviously John Moxley. I don't want this match to exist, but unfortunately it does. It's 100% Moxley winning, but most likely shenanigans and interference, right?
Shenanigans, and then John Moxley wins, but Brody Lee walks out with the belt.
If John Moxley wins like John Cena wins against Brody Lee, then Brody Lee is done. Brody Lee is already kind of treading water. I think if they don't do exactly the right thing, and it's gonna have to be gimmicky as hell. But if they don't do exactly the right thing to keep him at some level of integrity of character, then he's so done. He's in 3 weeks' time he'll be standing with Sean Spears clacking wooden slats.
What if Evil Uno and Grayson return and they double cross Brody Lee,
That
causing Brody Lee to lose the match?
somebody's gonna have to do that at some point because you can't just have 10, 12 guys in masks walking around and we're supposed to know who they are.
But also the story has been that Brody Lee's come in to what was their thing and he's completely revamped it. So once they return back to TV, you could see that they might be a bit pissed off that he's gone a different direction.
It's going to be difficult because you still have to keep the main eye on Moxley. If this descends into Dark Order bullshit, everything that I hate about this gimmick, and it overshadows Moxley regaining the championship from Brody Lee and winning definitively and continuing to be their A-list star, then it's done a horrible job. And if they really do that and they do the Evil Uno thing turning on Brody Lee and this turns into a 10-minute thing, it'd be as bad as The Fiend versus Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell. It'd just descend into Carney Hell.
I don't think it'll be that bad.
From what you're saying, if the Dark Order starts turning on themselves, they're dead in the water. They're not only dead in the water, but they are overshadowing John Moxley. As much as they need to keep Brody Lee at least to some level strong, they need to sacrifice him if it means keeping John Moxley as a superstar.
It's one of those matches where they've accidentally booked themselves into a corner.
Yeah, they've done a WWE here, definitely. This match didn't need to happen, and I've said over the past weeks it shouldn't be happening. In my opinion, Brody Lee should have slowly built himself back up from the mess that they had already handed him. John Moxley should not be involved with this whatsoever.
Well, I think the problem is that John Moxley needs a really good feud because his first feud after winning the belt was with Jake Hager, which was an okay build for 2 weeks, but then the match was a bit underwhelming. So I think they try to throw him in there with some of name value that could probably have a decent match. They're just lacking someone that can really elevate John Moxley to a great champion.
Brody Lee's not that guy, though. And I don't think that you should be trying to save Brody Lee's character before he's already even started by using John Moxley to do it. Because John Moxley himself, let's remember, is a fledgling champion. He's only just started. He shouldn't be handed this bullshit straight away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he needs something great to cement him before shenanigans.
But is this not the problem with AEW right now? You've got a hell of a lot of great guys that we're really excited about, and you've got guys that they're building towards for the future. How many main eventers have you got? You got Cody, you got Jericho, you got Moxley. Who else you got, man?
Unfortunately, all of their main eventers are tied up into this Stampede match. You got all of the Elite and all the Inner Circle in one match, and Cody and Lance Archer doing their match. So
I think they should be really careful because if you take the Young Bucks away because they're tag, you take Santana and Ortiz away because they're tag, you take Sammy Guevara away because he's being built in the same way as Darby Allin but heel. You got to take Jake Hager away because he's the muscle. Who have you got? You got Paige and you got Omega, both of whom have already got wins and losses over Chris Jericho or Moxley in the main event. They're very, very close, I think, to overstepping their mark and accidentally revealing the dearth of their main event scene. They really need to elevate someone on this pay-per-view to get to a main event level so that John Moxley doesn't have to go through this Brody Lee bullshit for the next 3 months.
I don't think the story will continue after this, win or lose. Well, I think win, but I think John Moxley will move on to someone else.
Who do you think Moxley's moving on to, though? Because he also feels like he's been treading water for quite a few weeks. He's doing random squashes here and there. Or like 10-minute matches with Daniels or Kaz or whatever.
MJF? Or was that too soon?
Everything they do with MJF seems to be too soon. Like, I thought the Cody MJF angle would go on for years. And I didn't understand
I thought that was going to last longer as well.
Well, I didn't initially understand why they pulled the trigger. Then I realized it's because they haven't got this main event scene right now. It's not for lack of roster. I just think that from this idea that we always argue about, that they try to push everybody, they never elevate anybody beyond the glass ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited about a lot of people, but all those people seem to be stuck in the mid-card.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to say, but you summed it up in 10 seconds.
So maybe John Moxley will go up against the winner or loser of the next match, which is the tournament final for the TNT Championship. It is Cody versus Lance Archer.
I think we're going to defer on this one. I've got Cody Rhodes.
This one's a tough one for me.
It was quite difficult, but I've got Cody coming out of it.
I don't think Cody needs a belt to stay important, to be Cody. I would comfortably have said Cody loses this and then goes into a program with Moxley, except for Cody can't contend for the World Championship because of his stipulation with Chris Jericho a couple of shows back. So that's not likely to happen. That was my main thinking, that Moxley and Cody could do something. But John Moxley's a face, so maybe he's going to do something with Lance Archer. And that's not going to happen if Lance Archer is the TNT champion.
Mox has got that easeability, though, because he's a anti-face. He can work with faces, I think, and make it work for a month or two without him turning heel. So he's got that to his name, but it's another sort of thing where they have to be really careful with it, because otherwise he could turn heel and they could do the opposite of what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah, that's why I think he could do something really cool with Cody, but I don't think that's going to happen.
It makes a lot more sense to me for Cody to win. Cody, as you said, can't go for a championship match, so he needs something. And I know you say that he's Cody and he doesn't need anything, but the guy's taken quite a few losses on pay-per-view. He needs a big win. He needs something to do. Every single week on TV, he's putting guys over by having 20, 25-minute matches with them. Those matches instantly become more important by having a title on the line. I think they've done a fantastic job with building up Lance Archer over the last couple of weeks, but as usual with AEW, I think he hasn't actually blossomed yet. Like, they've got him to a near level where they can get him to that monster heel main event level. I don't think this is it. I think he needs a couple more months growth, whereas Cody is in the perfect position to use this TNT championship to make other guys look good while giving himself a full-time job on TV.
My problem is that Lance Archer is being overshadowed by his own manager.
I agree 100% with that.
And I like what they've done with his character, especially the vignettes right at the beginning where they played up the Murder Hawk thing and he was just murdering people in his vignettes. And I agree with you, Cody could do like some really cool stuff. Like, you remember back in the day when John Cena had the US Championship and we all thought it was going to be crap, but then he had like great matches and he was elevating people.
Yeah.
It was like an open challenge every week or something. I agree with you, like Cody could do something like that. That would be fun, but maybe it's because I'm in an AEW mark that I just feel like Cody doesn't need a championship to be relevant. I would still watch a program with him if he had a belt or not. But that might just be me personally.
I would also watch a program with him regardless of whether he had a belt or not. I don't think that's the issue, though. Young Bucks, how many matches they won since AEW opened up? Kenny Omega's booking's been 50-50. These guys, they're booking the shows, aren't they? Cody, Kenny, Young Bucks.
Yeah, and they're intentionally trying to not book themselves to be the big dogs. They're trying to not do an NWO.
And I completely get where they're coming from, but sometimes, bro, you need a win. And I'm sorry, but Cody, Kenny, and the Young Bucks to a mainstream American audience are not Stone Cold, Triple H, and The Undertaker. They need to look good in order to then feed that into younger guys who they can put over. You can't have a wrestling feud in which both people come out of it looking good when one person who is supposed to be great in a company that you've been told is one of the best wrestlers in the world never wins. This is the ideal opportunity for Cody to pick up a big win, to have a championship, and then like even potentially lose in non-title matches if he needs to, if he wants to. But Cody, as much of a superstar as I think he is, still isn't on that like Roman Reigns level to a public audience that might be tuning in every week. And he needs something desperately, I think, in order for him to do the stuff that he wants to do, which is putting other people over.
Yeah, you make a lot of sense. You're really making me think I'm going to change my pick.
If you change your pick, then we're all for all.
We are. I'm going to go with Lance Archer anyway.
Okay.
I just think like he's in a not as bad but a similar boat as Brody Lee. He hasn't been there very long, and he's already being overshadowed by his manager. And I think if he eats a loss, it's going to make him not so important. But I totally get what you're saying with Cody, and it makes a lot of sense. But I'll go with Lance Archer just so one of us can win or lose this thing.
I didn't think about the potential damage that it would do to Archer if he lost.
He hasn't been there very long, you know.
Yeah, I do hope that when this goes down the line, Cody holds championship for a couple of months and Lance Archer won't leave him alone all the way to the next pay-per-view. Because I don't think Cody should be a permanent champion, man. I'm not saying that he should have like the longest reign with it. I think he just needs it right now, and he can then give it on. Imagine a couple of months' time, this same match, but Archer has been elevated 5 levels, and then Archer wins it. I think that makes him look bigger than winning it right now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Well, we'll leave the predictions as they are, and it all comes down to that one TNT championship, whether you or I wins this thing.
All right.
But still, as a show, I'm looking forward to this way more than Money in the Bank. And I think my expectations will be met.
It's really good for me that I've been watching AEW over the past couple of weeks, gotten invested into the storylines, gotten invested into the characters, and actually have a pay-per-view to look forward to for once. The WWE are currently marketing Backlash as having potentially the greatest match of all time.
Is this Edge versus Orton?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
No.
No. Not even on the page.
Oh, you got 2 guys who I thought had the worst match since Bret Hart versus Vince McMahon at WrestleMania.
It's just classic WWE trying to rewrite their own history.
One guy whose neck doesn't work, who has been protected in his matches since he came back after retiring 11 years ago, and the other guy who hasn't given a fuck about his matches and treated it like a house show for a decade.
Yeah,
greatest match of all time, bro.
It's not even in the conversation as the greatest match of all time.
I'm really looking forward to AEW Double or Nothing.
You know one thing we never even mentioned?
What?
Is Iron Mike Tyson handing out the TNT Championship.
Okay.
My extra little my extra little pick is that he's knocking out Cody.
I really hope not.
Just for shits and giggles. He's got to knock someone out. Otherwise, what's the point in him being
No. I bet you that Cody wins, Iron Mike gives him the championship, and Lance Archer knocks out Mike.
Nah, Mike's not taking a hit. No way.
Come on, he was in the Hangover 2 credit scene.
Maybe MJF versus Jungle Boy is the co-main, and then Iron Mike knocks out Jungle Boy.
No, I think if they can give him the money, I don't think Mike cares anymore. I think this is the perfect opportunity to give Cody the championship and have Lance Archer save face.
And then Lance Archer's the baddest man on the planet.
Exactly.
All right, well, we'll leave it on that then.
Looking forward to it, bro.